Have you ever checked into a hotel and felt that eerie chill run down your spine? Maybe it was just the air conditioning, or maybe it was something else entirely. But what if I told you that some hotels carry more than just the scent of fresh linens and the hum of distant elevator music? What if they carry the weight of tragic, unspeakable events that refuse to stay buried? Imagine this. You're on a road trip with a group of friends, looking for a place to rest for the night. Tired and eager to find a place to crash, you pull into the parking lot of an old, decrepit hotel. It's quiet, almost too quiet. The sign outside flickers in the dim light, and the front door creaks as you step inside. But there's something unsettling about the place, a strange feeling that lingers in the air, something that just doesn't feel right. This is exactly what happened to a group of friends who decided to stay at a mysterious hotel they stumbled upon during a road trip. What they didn't know was that this hotel was far from the simple, ordinary stopover they expected. It was a place where past horrors and restless spirits converged, and they were about to discover its dark, twisted history. Stay tuned, because tonight's story is not one for the faint of heart. Grab a snack, settle in, and prepare to hear the chilling tale of the haunted hotel. It was an unexpected stop. A group of 5 friends, Amanda, Josh, Sarah, Tom, and Ryan, had been driving for hours, heading to a music festival far out in the countryside. Their excitement had been building all day, but as the night wore on, fatigue started to set in. They were on a remote stretch of highway when they noticed a hotel up ahead. Its neon sign flickered faintly, its pale light casting an eerie glow over the otherwise deserted road. "Looks like a good place to crash for the night," Josh said, pulling the car into the lot. "Yeah, we can't go on like this," Ryan added, rubbing his tired eyes. The building stood on its own, a crumbling relic from an era long past. It had a faded charm to it, with grand pillars and stained windows, but there was something off about it. The kind of place that felt abandoned, yet strangely inviting. As the group entered the lobby, the smell of dust and old wood hit them. The dim light from a single chandelier hanging above added to the atmosphere of decay. A man behind the counter greeted them with a polite but odd smile. He didn't seem surprised by their arrival, as though he was used to people stopping by at odd hours. "Checking in?" the man asked in a low, raspy voice. The group exchanged wary glances, but the pull of exhaustion was stronger than any reservations. They all nodded and paid for their rooms. "Room 302, the man said, sliding a brass key across the counter. "Second floor. Be careful, though. Some guests say the hotel has a personality of its own." He chuckled lightly. The first night was uneventful, but there was something strange about the hotel. The old wooden floors creaked in the night, and the walls seemed to echo with whispers, as if they were holding secrets too dark to tell. But the friends brushed it off, assuming it was just the building settling. They slept in shifts, taking turns using the bathroom, sharing laughter and stories to distract themselves from the ever-present feeling that they were being watched. But things started to change on the second night. Cut to scene of Amanda walking down a dim hallway at night. Amanda woke up to a strange sound, a distant thumping like footsteps. Thinking it was just her friends making noise, she got up to investigate. She wandered down the dark hallway toward the source. But as she reached the end of the corridor, the noise suddenly stopped. She stood there, breathless, as a cold draft brushed past her. That's when she saw it. A shadowy figure standing at the far end of the hall. It was barely visible in the dim light, but Amanda was sure it was staring right at her. Heart pounding, she hurried back to her room and locked the door. The figure had disappeared before she even had time to blink, but the unease that settled in her chest didn't leave her. The next morning, Amanda told the group what she had seen. They laughed it off at first, attributing it to tired eyes and an overactive imagination. But as the day went on, it became harder to ignore the odd occurrences. The hotel seemed to have a life of its own. In the hallway, the temperature fluctuated from warm to bone-chilling cold. The elevators, which were clearly out of service, suddenly worked and took them to the top floors. Every time they checked their watches, it felt as though time was slipping away, like the hotel was somehow distorting reality. And the worst part? They kept hearing whispers, faint voices that seemed to come from nowhere. It was as if the hotel itself was trying to communicate with them. Determined to find answers, the group began asking around the town. They went to a local diner, hoping to learn more about the hotel's history. The waitress, a nervous woman with wild eyes, told them something they weren't prepared for. "That hotel, it has a dark past," she whispered, looking over her shoulder as if someone might be listening. "People say it's haunted by the spirits of those who died there. Long ago, a family stayed there. Mother, father, and 2 young children. They checked in, but they never checked out. According to the waitress, the family had been killed in a gruesome murder that no one could solve. The case had gone cold, and as years passed, the hotel began to deteriorate. Some believed that the spirits of the family still roamed the halls, unable to find peace. The friends returned to the hotel, their nerves on edge. The truth was starting to sink in. They weren't just staying in an old, run-down building. They were staying in a place where something was very, very wrong. That night, everything changed. The group decided to confront the hotel's dark past. Armed with nothing more than their phones and flashlights, they ventured down to the basement, where many guests claimed to have seen the most unsettling things. As they descended the narrow staircase, the air grew thick, and the walls seemed to close in on them. The whispers became louder, almost as though they were speaking directly to them, urging them to leave. But there was no turning back now. They reached the basement, where they found something that no one was expecting: an old, dusty journal. It belonged to the hotel's original owner, and it detailed a series of disturbing events that took place in the very rooms they had stayed in. The journal spoke of a ritual, a dark, forbidden ritual meant to trap souls within the walls of the hotel forever. Suddenly, the temperature dropped drastically. The lights flickered, and the whispers turned into shrill cries for help. Then, one by one, the group began to feel the presence of something or someone behind them. A shadow moved in the corner of the basement, and from the darkness, the figure of a man appeared. His face was twisted in a grotesque grimace, and his eyes glowed with an unnatural light. The group ran, fear propelling them up the stairs. The man, or whatever he was, followed them, his footsteps echoing loudly as he chased them through the halls. They burst into their rooms and locked the doors, but they could still hear him, his voice calling their names, pleading for them to let him in. As the hours passed, the group began to realize that they were not going to escape the hotel. The spirits of the past were not merely haunting it. They were trapped there, just as the journal had warned. And if they didn't break the curse, they would be trapped too. In the dead of night, they gathered their courage and returned to the basement, determined to find a way to break the curse and free the souls that were bound to the hotel. They performed a ritual, just as described in the journal, and suddenly everything went silent. The man's figure reappeared before them, but this time he wasn't threatening. His face was calm, and his eyes softened. He spoke in a voice that echoed through the basement. "You've freed us," he whispered. "But now you must leave. This place is no longer safe." The group left the hotel as the first light of dawn broke. They didn't look back. They didn't need to. They knew the hotel's dark history had been broken, but the memory would stay with them forever. So, what happened to the haunted hotel? It's still there, standing at the edge of that lonely road. But for now, it seems to have quieted down, its spirits finally at rest. But the truth remains, some places are better left undisturbed. If you've enjoyed this eerie tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts. Have you ever stayed in a hotel that seemed a little too strange? Share your stories with us. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying things aren't the ones you can see, but the ones that are lurking just out of sight. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes open.